We'll be taking this performance testing session forward. And I would just like to mention the scope of the talk. That is that we'll be discussing the very basics and the very essence of performance testing, and how do we use it to find bottlenecks in the application and make them perform better. So, okay. So let's not go with the very textbook definition of performance testing, right? And first understand what it is and why is it important. So, in my opinion, performance testing is something that helps us understand how well the application will perform in an actual production environment, and how well the user experience will be when somebody is actually using the application. So, in my opinion, every application has to be evaluated not just in terms of functionality, but also in terms of performance, scalability, and stability. And performance testing helps us do this bit, right? The whole objective is to see whether the application meets the acceptable criteria for robustness and responsiveness when it's actually running under a reasonable load in the production. Also, to help us understand the bottlenecks so that we can fix it, because unless we fix the bottlenecks and make the application perform better and have a good user experience, nobody will come and use our application. Having a bad user experience will end up losing the customers, since nobody likes waiting, and we all know this. So with this note, I hope it's clear why performance testing is as important as functional testing. And something that is not very, something that is disheartening is that we usually neglect it because of the fast delivery cycles we have, especially in case of very vigorous development cycles, wherein we end up developing so many features within a sprint that we neglect performance testing and just end up doing functional testing, and the QA signs of the feature and it's ready to go in production. So that is not a good practice, in my opinion. And it will come back and ghost us again in the future. So better do performance testing first and release it in production, rather than it comes back to us and then we need to fix everything when all code is in the right place. So yeah, Guru, maybe the next slide. Thank you. So these are all the types of performance testing. The first one is, so we can categorize them in these major categories. The first one is the load testing. So it helps us validate the application's ability to perform under anticipated or expected, load. That will actually be there when the application is there in the production. This is usually done by increasing the load incrementally. So that is the load testing for us. Stress testing is something when an application deals with a certain large spikes of data. Probably when we are simulating extreme conditions, like end of season sale in case of e-commerce applications, right? So we see a sudden surge of people getting into the sale, and platforms like Myntra, Flipkart, and other e-commerce website onboarding so many customers in a very small duration of time. So simulating that will be a good stress test. So, and coming to endurance testing, it's actually validating whether the application can handle unexpected load over a period of time, and help us identify whether there are issues like memory leaks in the application and it doesn't fail over a period of time. In case of volume testing, it's the tests that are carried out for a software application with a certain amount of data. The data can be in the form of data lying or lying in the database, or the interface files that the application is dealing with. So you have to have a large amount of data, and then expect your application to perform well. So yeah, over to you, Guru. Maybe you can take it forward and explain what is the exact cycle of performance testing.
Yeah, thank you, Fat, for the briefing on performance testing. So now coming to the process of performance testing, it's very similar to software development. First, we'll have to understand the requirements of the application, because basically what happens while performance testing is, since it's a non-functional test, we tend to overlook the nuances of the application, and we just run a brief like the most general case of the application, which is not valid. We'll have to understand why the application is being used and what is the actual necessity of it, and we need to cover all the cases. And first we have understood the use cases and the purpose of the application, that's when we'll have to build and strategize our plans based on that. And then we'll have to set up our environment, which should be as close to production environment as possible, without all the external dependencies which might affect the performance of our application. And then we'll generate the test data, after which we will deploy our application, and this is when the test actually begins. And the second phase of the testing has collection of matrices, where the both system metrics and application metrics must be collected and visualized. And visualization of the metrics is very important, because that's when we can actually analyze the bottlenecks, and which will help us in benchmarking our performance. So now I have a pre-recorded session of how actually we do performance testing. So over to that. So first, what we do is we start a documentation, and we have our cluster setup ready. Here we'll have, this is very application specific, where according to our application we'll prepare our, we'll have our instances ready. And here we can use any technology like Terraform to spin up the instances, so that it can be reused in every iteration of our performance tests. So once that is ready, we'll have to come up with the number of records that we are running the test for, and the size of each record, and the data. Here I'm just running it with 1,000 records for. I'm sorry for that. Okay, we are using 1,000 records for demo purpose. After which we'll configure our application, and we'll check that. Here what we are doing is we are migrating data from Kafka to an external service, Azure Kusto. So we'll first make sure that our destination system is empty. And once we have made sure of that, we can actually go ahead with running the test. Here I have my payload in a text file, which I'll be feeding into my Kafka topic. And we'll have to make, here I'm creating my Kafka topic with 100 partitions, so that when I'm running it with multiple tasks, each task can pick up a single partition. And after feeding our payload to the Kafka topic, we can go ahead and run the application. Here we can see that each partition has 10 records, so that when the application is run with multiple tasks, load balancing happens. So we'll have to have our logs running prior to starting the application. And once our application is started, we can monitor the application's behavior, or if any unforeseen errors occur, which should not occur, because functional testing would already be over by this point of time. So it's a bad thing if bugs start cropping up during performance testing, because that is not the expected behavior of this cycle. And the main intention of performance testing is to just find the performance and the bottlenecks. So bugs is not our concern here, which is why it is so important to finish the complete functional testing part before we go into the performance testing. Here, since the application will not run for more than a minute or two because of our low number of records, but usually in performance testing, based on the application, it will vary between anywhere between 1 million to 10 million, or even 100 million in some cases, the number of records. And here we can see that the testing, the application is almost run. Yeah, so apart from 20 records are left, which have to be ingested by our external service. So during this time, we'll count, we'll keep track of the time for how long, the duration for which our application will run, and we'll keep track of the number of tasks my application runs with, and after which we'll visualize the behavior. It's almost done. As you can see, 1,000 records are done. So this is a very brief overview of how performance testing is done, which again is very application specific. Now coming to the details of the steps, right? Here, as I said, we'll first gather the requirements, after which we'll configure our application. And here we'll have to configure it with a different mode so that we cover every aspect of that application, because in one aspect of the application it might perform well, but in another aspect it might break altogether, which is not an advisable thing to happen during production. So it's better that we fail our application as many times as possible during our testing, so that it's robust in our production. And once the test plan is created, that's when we come up with the environment setup. Here we'll have to have an environment setup with minimal cost, so that we can use the same environment during every run, because during every cycle of development, right, during every release we'll have to do performance testing, since it's better to include performance testing as a part of our agile. So it would be better if we use the same setup every time, and we can use scripts like Terraform to automate this, so that we don't have to set up manually every time. And in case we are using external services, like let us say we are using Azure Blob, is just an example out of the top of my head. So if we are using any such external services, we'll have to make sure that the geography of the cluster we are using, the location we are using, is the same as the location of our environment setup, so that we don't encounter any unwanted latencies, which will in turn add up and build up in the throughput of my application. And we can run monitoring tools like Prometheus or Datadog or AppDynamics to actually capture system matrices as well as the application matrices, depending on the tool we are using. And now comes the most crucial part of performance testing, which is data generation. While doing functional tests, we can just use test data or dummy data, which is good enough to see whether the application is functioning as expected. But that can't be the case in performance testing, because we'll have to replicate our production like data, right? Because let us take the case of e-commerce. There we can't just have a record with one or two mandatory fields, because that won't be the case when the users are actually using it. And we'll have to find the right amount of data. And if we are using static data, then it would be fine to just generate our data and then run our application. But if we are having any streaming application where dynamic data has to be generated, we need to make sure that the rate of generation of our record is faster than consumption rate, which obviously we can't do it in the first run of the test, because first run would be to see how fast the application actually is. But later on, we'll have to have multiple iterations where we increase the rate of generation of our test data, so that the lack of speed in our generation of test data is not actually the cause of the slow performance of our application, which is very crucial, which is overlooked a lot. After which we'll cover all the scenarios and deploy our tests, and this is where our actual testing begins. Till here, it was just the prerequisites where the setup was done. Now we'll run our application, and then we'll collect the matrices. We can use any tools which is again not which is not compulsory, but it's an add-on.
So Guru, so I just want to make a mention of when we are actually running all the tests, right? So when we are running the test, we should actually go and collect all the data, and be it your system metrics, be your application metrics, and see how well the application is performing. We can choose to integrate different application monitoring systems like Prometheus and Datadog and whatnot, along with if we can also use something like a visualizing tool like Grafana, so that whatever data we have collected, we can actually visualize that in a graphical manner, so that it's evident to us that there is some performance bottleneck in our application. I mean, we'll see certain examples as to how to find the actual reason of the bottleneck later on, but then so we need to actually visualize it, so that it's quite evident to us that there is bottleneck in the application and how well the application is performing under a certain load. So that is there in metrics collection and visualization. After that, it's about analyzing the test results, right? So once we are done with collecting and visualizing, now we have to actually see how well the application performed, and reason out everything, that how the graphs and the throughput of the application under a certain load and under a certain application like configuration, right? So there can be many reasons of the bottlenecks that can bring down your application performance. The first thing can be your test environment itself, and that which is not good enough, which is not production like, and we are not able to bring out the real performance of the application. The second thing, or the second reason, might be that there might be certain applications that we have integrated with, services that we have integrated with, such as maybe we are using RDS or DynamoDB, which are all scalable, or something like an incident management system, or something like Salesforce, or another CRM systems, which have certain limitations. They have rate limiting, so as to how many API calls you can make to that particular application, right? So that can be one of the reasons of applications performance, why is it low. So, and which is acceptable, just that we need to max out and use the entire bandwidth, or the that is to be exposed by the service, right? So we should max out our limit over there to get the most out of it. The last reason of the bottleneck will be the application's implementation, the way we have implemented the application. And there might be some reason of the bottleneck. It might be some memory leak, or it might be that, or the other reason can be that we are not buffering enough the records or processing, and we're not batching the process, or something like that. So we need to improve that. Improve the implementation, and then redeploy, rerun all the tests, and then move forward and get the actual performance out of the application. Over to you, Guru, and maybe you can explain each of the reason of the bottlenecks.
Yeah, thank you, Fahd. So we can see here that this is one of the examples where the bottleneck is due to our test environment. As we can see, as the number of tasks are increasing, our CPU utilization increases too, along with the throughput, because more the number of tasks, the faster our application would be. But I'd like to have your focus on the throughput of 50 number of tasks and 100 number of tasks. We can see that the application is faster at 50 number of tasks, but it becomes drastically slower at 100 number of tasks, which is not the expected behavior. On further investigation, we can actually see that at 100 number of tasks, my CPU usage is maxing out, because of which my application is getting slowed down, which is not the fault of our application, but in the fault of the testing environment. And the bottleneck in the testing environment is probably the first bottleneck that we will encounter in our multiple runs of performance tests. And this is very crucial to understand and identify, because identifying the bottleneck is very hard when we don't use any monitoring tools, or we don't incorporate monitoring in our performance test itself, which is why monitoring is such an important aspect of performance testing. Once we can identify this bottleneck, we can just increase our test environment, and we can test it with a better environment, so that we can actually notice the actual performance of our application.
Yeah. So just to give just to give some context for this, for the demo that we did, it was about running Kafka connectors, and we can actually run connectors with multiple worker tasks. You can just imagine worker tasks being different threads that spin up to do a certain amount of tasks. Let's suppose if it's a there are two general type of connectors. It's a source connector and a sink connector. So source connector is basically getting the data from some service and then putting it to Kafka. So these connectors generally or act as a data pipeline. So these tasks are worker threads that pull the data from the system, maybe from Kafka or some other system, and then do the transportation of data. So now what we're doing is we have a certain amount of load with us, and we're running the connector at different task levels. I mean, spinning up different tasks and then calculating the throughput out of it. So yeah, that's the context of the graphs that we are seeing right now.
Yeah. Going to the next example, here we can see that when we run our connectors with multiple tasks, there is not much increase in throughput, which again makes no sense. And so this requires more investigating and a deeper understanding of the service that we are actually using, because here when we ran our connector, there was an external service which was being used, and after due investigation, we found out that the bottleneck was not in our application, but in the response time of the service itself. So it doesn't matter whether we are processing 10 batches or 100 batches or 1,000 records in per batch. The issue was with the number of the amount of time it would take for the batches to get processed from the external service, which is not related to our application. So in this case, nothing can be done other than just mentioning this in our performance doc and just setting a realistic benchmark so that the users don't over expect anything out of the application, which is not in the hands of the developers to fix in the first place. So this would be a bottleneck in the service the external service that is being used. Going to the next example here. Again, it is very similar to the previous example where throughput is not as high as we would expect it to be. So here again, we'll only find out if the bottleneck is in the external service or the application after digging deeper into the issue. But here, while trying to figure out whether the bottleneck is in the service, we actually found out that the external service actually can ingest more data than what is being sent to it. So that is clearly a bottleneck in our application's implementation, which is when we'll have to revisit our entire implementation so that maybe to process more, maybe to buffer all the batches so that more number of batches go in a put call, and to first of all implement batching policies and various other application specific implementations. And application bottlenecks is the main reason why we'll have to include performance testing as a part of our agile process, so that it's always cheaper for us to fix it during the cycle rather than this cropping up in production, because it will be more expensive to fix that. So I understand that running multiple performance tests is cumbersome and and is expensive to do, but it's still not as expensive as it would be if we fix it after production. So that is the types of bottlenecks that we can encounter in our performance tests. Now Fahd will and yeah, as I told, we'll be reporting and benchmarking all of that to set realistic expectations to the users as well as the customer. Now Fahd will take over and actually run you through the best practices that should be followed.
So I mean, as Guru said, right, we need to, after running all the tests and identifying the bottlenecks and then revisiting the implementation and, fixing the bottlenecks and then getting the real, performance out of the application, we really have to now report, put everything in a report so that, people, when they come back and revisit the report, it's evident why the bottleneck, what the bottleneck was and why it was. So after that, and it is important for us to also document the expected performance in the user documentation as well, so that people have realistic and actual. realistic expectations from the application, not just that people expect wrong from the application just because they think that it should perform better, but then in certain cases it may not it may not be possible. So yeah, it is important for us to document everything. Coming to the best practices, so as Guru mentioned, we should make it a process, part of agile process, and in every release we should do performances for all of the features that we are releasing. And when we are doing performance test, we should do it for, let's suppose we are dealing with microservices, so we should deal with a module, do performance testing over it, and then move on to the different modules, so that latency because of another module doesn't creep over here when we're doing performance testing for another module. So that is one thing. And also we should this is something related to test and data generation while doing performance testing. So we should not do it incrementally. Rather, we should have certain amount of base load, so that so as to have a realistic performance test. So there should be some load to begin with, and then we can start increasing the load. After that, we should realize, or when we are actually visualizing all the metrics and analyzing the results, we should try to eliminate all the external bottlenecks that is very obvious, and then maybe redo all the tests when we actually fix them. So yeah, so this is it.